Phantom Blade Zero. Did I watch? There's no way I didn't watch this. I don't remember watching this, so I'm gonna rewatch it. Maybe I'm an idiot that doesn't remember things, but yeah, I'm gonna rewatch it real quick and see what this is.
Okay.
Okay, so not this one? No,
it's okay. It's supposed to be amazing so far.
Okay, so this is on PS5, and just so you guys are aware, very, like, I mean, I show you that, everybody knows exactly what that is. Healing, health, stamina.
I love asmongold.
Okay, so, and then you have posture bar as well.
Everyone to keep going.
I guess kind of like Sekiro.
Reactions for his videos anyways, for a long time.
Yeah, this seems decent.
Make sure guys, if you enjoyed this, hit the likes up. And hit the subscribe button.
I guess blue is some form of parry.
Yeah.
I guess triangles and execute.
So many awesome Asian games. I'm gonna be real.
That was actually really clean. Oh wait, let me go back and watch that again. That was actually really good.
Because it came to my PC finally.
Wow.
Yeah. I've played Assassin's Creed in a long time. Nice.
This is sick. Yeah, it's like, it's crazy to watch this and then go back and look at the Assassin's Creed game.
Shop Frenzy.
You know, like, that's what's so weird for me to think. Is like,
so glad Black Myth
I mean, Assassin. Okay, now we have a boss. All right. So you've got your traditional berserker. All right. Okay. So that's like some sort of like teleport behind you, nothing personnel kit. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Seems fine to me.
Let's see.
I mean, we're obviously talking about a. Oh, that was.
The armor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the boss. Okay.
Wow. I don't remember watching this. I actually don't. Like this. I'm gonna be real, guys. Like this looks really good.
Let's go.
Yeah, this looks awesome. You didn't? Yeah, I don't remember watching this at all. Is this another boss fight? I really respect the fact that.
It's makes sense.
Like they're just showing full boss fights. They're not showing like, you know, some 3-second slice. Like this is awesome. Commander Cleave, yeah. What a name. Is this Phantom Blade? Yeah, it is. Is this one coming out on PC or no? I mean, I've got a PS5. I'd prefer to just play on PC.
I'm still
yeah, it is.
Okay,
cool. Better than Black Myth Wukong? I do think that Black Myth Wukong has definitely, it's like set a new standard for a lot of games, like action combat games. I think so. Especially for like games that have like a lot of like Asian and like Eastern like themes. I think Black Myth Wukong absolutely was like that. It's like, I think it's like, I didn't play a lot of other games like Ghost of Tsushima and like Rise of the Ronin, but like I played like Wulong and like a few of the other ones. I feel like the quality difference, like Ghost of Tsushima is a story game primarily, right? It's a combat game, sure, but it's primarily a story game, and I think there's a lot more to it than that. I do think that Wukong will be viewed kind of as if like that's like the Dark Souls 3 or like Elden Ring level quality that these other games are going to try to aspire to. I love combat, to be honest. Really? Yeah, I heard it was kind of like okay, not like super interesting or crazy.
Looks 6 so far though. Dang.
Yeah, this actually does look pretty good. And this is like an execute, I guess. I guess he didn't. Oh, he saved it so he could do it at the end.
Only did first keep it secret. Nice. Okay.
Jesus Christ. So they're just showing boss fight after boss fight? Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know what I've said before, right? Is like, you know, about how, you know, there's certain games I feel like I'm not the target audience for. This is one that I feel like I am. It's like, yeah, they made this game for you, Baldy. Here you go.
With the lanterns. Very, very different.
It's demo footage? Yeah, but like usually with a lot of trailers of games, if they're not showing full boss fights, I usually assume there's a reason for that. This guy reminds me of me in Blasphemous 2.
This is right up my alley. What about you guys?
Bro, like that maze was fucking crazy. Keep this up. Why parkour though? I don't know. I'm sure there's probably reasons in like the base game. And it looks like he's using different weapons too. Like this one seems like a greatsword kind of, because it's like larger and it's not like the red one that he was using before. The combat's pretty stick. Boss gets staggered every hit. Yeah, but like, see, people say boss gets staggered every hit, but like you don't remember, the Abyss Watchers get staggered every hit. Artorias gets staggered every heavy.
There's lots of people. Yeah. You could stagger a lot
what's his
of people.
name? Jesus Christ. Ornstein gets staggered every hit with like a two-hander. Freed gets staggered every hit. Gwen, I think it's every heavy with Gwen. Melania only gets staggered with like charged heavies.
Yeah.
Most of the time, right? So like if you really think about it, now I see your point, but they're clearly showing easier bosses. Like they're not showing. This is not like I'm sure that there's going to be more challenging bosses besides this, you know. And that's not a bad thing. Well, my point is that these are games that like we all accept are like pretty good, and bosses that we think are good.
And of course, this is my first time seeing these videos.
So like, just because a game
with you guys
like has some easy bosses doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like bad or something. So yeah, I mean, this is.
In this Phantom Blade Zero video, I'm going to be talking about my hands-on impressions with the title. I got to play gamescom just a few days ago. I spent about 30 minutes playing through the game.
What do you guys think about hard modes?
On both normal and hard modes, so you'll see gameplay from both of those in this video.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of like hard modes in games. I've said this many times, right? Is like I don't really like. I don't like hard modes in games.
Pretty good.
But you know, that's just the way it is.
This
one experience is best, yeah.
The best game I saw at the game show.
Wow.
And is arguably one of the best games I've played this year.
Jesus Christ.
This is a game that's being developed and published by S-Game that's going to be coming to PlayStation 5 and PC probably sometime next year. We don't have a release date yet, but that's kind of...
Where is this game being made? Like, who makes this game? PC? Yeah, it's going to PC. Of course it is, right? China?
I mean,
so is China just making the good games now? Like, is that really how we're doing it? Yeah, I guess so. What the fuck? I like customizable difficulty. I do too, but I think it should be discovered through game options rather than game settings. You know, like Havel Armor is a difficulty setting in Dark Souls 1. I feel like that's a better difficulty modifier than like just turning it down in like a menu, right?
The animations look pretty good.
That I got from
it's my opinion.
So the combat of Phantom Blade Zero is based off Chinese martial arts, and they actually use real kung fu masters in Hong Kong, motion captured them, and used that for this game, which is pretty cool. And if you look at the combat of the game, it kind of reminds me somewhere between like Sekiro and Ninja Gaiden. It has
this looks pretty good.
It's not as methodical as Sekiro, and it's more flashy like Ninja Gaiden, but there is sort of like an offensive and defensive side of it that reminds me of Sekiro, where you're not always attacking. Sometimes you're deflecting, sometimes you're attacking, and there's kind of
it's very clear that there's like two modifications to weapon attacks, right? There's a red attack and a blue attack, and like a blue attack is probably some sort of parry, and a red attack is some sort of like either unavoidable or reversal thing, right?
It's like tug of war going on in
so
combat.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Combat kind of revolves around breaking the guard of enemies, or the stance, or posture, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it has an exact name in Phantom Blade Zero yet. But you're attacking them, you're trying to break through them so you can do like a critical strike on them.
I do think that if you really look at, like, if you look at this frame by frame, and I know people probably like,
the blood effect? Sure.
This might sound like weird, but
breaking the guard of enemies, or the stance, or posture, whatever.
If you look right here, there's really no reason why this should have happened, right? So, like, this combat really isn't extremely clean. Like, you guys might not know this, but, like, I have, like, extremely good eyesight. And so, like, I can see this in, like, fucking, like, at one frame, I will fucking notice it. And it was an arrow. Was it, wait, was it an arrow? No, it wasn't.
And combat kind of revolves around breaking the guard of enemies, or the stance, or posture, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it has. Kind of revolves around breaking the guard of enemies, or the stance, or posture, whatever you want to call it. It was.
I wasn't even looking up there. You guys are right. I'm an idiot. Was that it? I was looking at the sword.
Somebody's still shooting, of course, yeah.
Perfect eyesight? Yeah. I have perfect eyesight when I'm looking. I didn't even look there.
Instantly humbled. What do you guys think?
Jesus.
I don't know if it has an exact name.
I know.
But you're attacking them, you're trying to break through them so you can do like a critical strike on them. And at the same time, you're deflecting and countering their attacks. And when they do the blue flashing attacks, you have to parry at the right moment.
Right, yeah.
This will slow down time, do kind of a sick animation, and then you can begin your offensive on the enemy. It sort of swaps you over from defending into attacking instantly. And the same thing happens when a red flashing attack happens.
And I do think this is like one of the components where it's like you have games where, especially with a lot of these fast attacks, sometimes the attacks can start to feel kind of weightless and they don't feel good to actually land. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with sound as well. But yeah, it looks good with color indicators. Yeah.
Yeah.
In this case, you have to dodge at the right time instead of parry. You do this to kind of end the offensive assault of the enemy.
I feel like that's kind of like a new default for video games, where it's like parry is blue and you can't dodge is red. I feel like there's like so many fucking games that use that exact same paradigm.
Awesome. And begin your counterattack, which is lightning fast, slows down time.
Yeah.
The whole thing looks so amazing, and it's just really fun to pull this off. And as I mentioned, it feels kind of like a tug of war where you're attacking into an enemy or boss, and then at some point you can tell that they're done blocking and they're going to start swinging, and then you go into parrying and deflecting and blocking and dodging, and then looking for the opportunity to counter, and then doing that, and just back and forth like that throughout boss fights. They feel very dynamic. They feel very much like a sword fight, if you will, because it's just back and forth, and it feels like what you would see if you were watching an actual sword fight, other than the fact that...
And you can see clearly there's different weapons that are being used. Like, he used the dual-wield daggers, like swords, and then like here he's using like this like red sword. And then the other boss fight we saw, he was using like a really big two-handed sword.
Combinations and animations are almost unbelievable. And obviously you can tell by looking at the gameplay that the combat is fast and fluid. It looks amazing, but something that I noticed right away playing the game.
Actually, now that I look at it, I think this guy probably drops the big sword since he's holding the exact same one.
That even an average player playing this game is going to love it. And the reason for that is you don't have to be amazing at this game to look like a badass. The way the game is...
the game that does really good at that is Zenless Zone Zero. Like, you can be playing the game on a garage door opener, but you could, like, show it to somebody and be like, wow, like, this guy must be really good at the game.
Designed is that instead of something like a fighting game or another game where you hit, like, triangle, triangle, square, triangle, triangle, that's your combo. In this game, you may only have to hit triangle like twice, but your character hits multiple times. So it looks flashier than what you're actually doing. So if you're standing there watching, you might be thinking this player is doing all kinds of crazy things to make their
exactly. People would like pog out when I'd play like Zenless Zone Zero and I'd execute some combo. And it's like, you know, they don't know that like all I'm doing is I'm just going, you know, they're like, damn, this guy's so good.
Your character do what it's doing on the screen, but you're really not. So when you look at my gameplay, you're like, wow, he looks really good at this game. The reality is I played the game for 5 minutes, and that's how good I look. When you watch the Crimson Desert gameplay, the person playing that in that video on our channel is a pro at that game. Everyone I watched playing that game couldn't do anything near what that player was doing, but everyone you watched play PhantomZero looked like a pro. So that's the biggest difference there. I feel like the game is way more accessible, has a much lower skill floor, and anyone who's playing can look like an amazing ninja badass. And
I think that's probably a good thing, honestly. Especially, like, I mean, and this is the same with, like, Wukong. Like, even if you're bad at the game, you can still do really cool things in the game. Like, it shouldn't be that, like, because I think this is a problem that, like, fighting games have, where it's like, in order to be good at a fighting game, you have to have, like, a really, really high level of skill to execute combos. Or in order for it to look cool, too. But, yeah, I think that, obviously, like, combat feels shallow. Well, yeah, it's a demo, right? And, like, the main demo stuff that they're testing out is, like, just combat interactions, player response, etc., right? Low skill floor, high skill ceiling. Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
You might be thinking that the game is too easy, that nobody should be able to do that sort of stuff if they just played the game for 5 minutes. And this is actually something I sat and discussed with SK a bit. Because the game currently has normal and hard difficulties, they wanted some feedback on how does the game stack up compared to other games in the genre. Like, how's it compared to like Super Hero or Ninja Gaiden or Souls games like that? This is not a Souls game, remind me, but they wanted to know how the challenge of the game was. And I finished the demo on normal and hard, and I actually finished the hard faster than I finished
probably
normal
because you did the other one.
More playtime by that time, so I was more familiar with the controls.
You know what to do.
But I definitely found the game to be a bit too easy. I don't feel like I should have been able to clear it that quickly for just having started the game. But this is something they want feedback about, and I imagine they.
This is my feedback. If they ever watch this, what I'm talking about is I don't think you should design the game for a guy like this. Like the guy that does F Extra Life, like he has played every single one of these fucking games probably for thousands of hours. Like the barometer of this game is easy for a person like that is like literally the top 1% of the top 1%. You should not base the game and design the game around that. You should look at what the average player is doing and how to create a fulfilling experience, not how to make the game feel really hard. Because there's always going to be things like, for example, Soul Level 1 runs, Rune Level 1 runs. Like, players will always find ways to make the game harder. And you can even add in modes or, like, things that you can do that with, like the Bell in Sekiro and stuff like that. Or, like, the Calamity Ring in Dark Souls. So you always have options to do that, right? It should be based on fun, yeah. Like, Wukong is a great example of this. Like, all of the bosses in Wukong are, at least so far, that I've played against, are not really hard. Like, they're not extremely hard, and the reason why the bosses aren't that hard is actually not because of their mechanics, it's because of your tools. You have a lot of tools to solve problems in Wukong that a lot of other games that are similar to that don't give you. For example, you can freeze a boss, you can summon in a bunch of ads, you can turn into another guy who has a separate health bar. So they're challenging, but the game also gives you tools to solve these problems if you choose to. So transforming gives you a second health bar? Yeah, exactly, right? And you can respec for free. There's all of these, like, and then there's also consumables that make you stronger as well if you need that much extra help, right? So why is it that you need to modify the game and like add in difficulty modes and then base it around those like super serious players when the truth is that, number one, those people are going to play the game no matter what, like, let's be honest, right? And number two, they'll find their own ways to make it more challenging. Whether it's in New Game Plus, whether it's with different like difficulty settings, there's no reason to design a game around people that have beaten Elden Ring 7 times. It's not a good idea, and it's a very bad barometer. And when you do that, like, the reason, like, this is my biggest comparison, right, is that I think that, like, the original, like, Elden Ring DLC, I said before, it was too hard. I got a lot of shit for this. Bandai Namco agreed, and they fucking nerfed it. They nerfed it indirectly with the tree fragments. They did. They gave you 5% more additive damage reduction at the end of it. That's fucking insane. There's a huge increase, right? Like, if you look at the damage people are taking on day 1 of that DLC versus damage people are taking, you know, week 2 of the DLC after that patch was over, total different fucking world. So they did actually nerf it, by the way. And then another comparison is with WoW. I think WoW is like really the main game that I've had this experience with, is that the game has been made more and more difficult over time in order to like appeal to the like more hardcore player. And what I think that does is you have a situation where like you have like this is skill and this is time, right? And so the average player skill level goes up like this, right? This is your average new player. Like, you know, because like they're obviously like if you're coming in at Dark Souls 1, you know, like you're bad, right? Because you just started playing the games. If you're coming in at Elden Ring, you're also bad, right? But like, or Dark Souls 3 or whatever. Or like, let's say you're coming in now at Lies of P, right? You're also bad. But the problem is that this is player skill for experienced people like a lot of us, is that we've played all these games, right? And so it goes up. So basically, like, where do you want to design the game? You do not want to design the game for the red line. Because the red line is the serious, really, really good players. And those people will always find a way to make the game more challenging. Whether it's like a, you know, a no-hit run or whatever. Whereas, like, the casual players, if you put walls in front of them, they won't be able to get over those walls. So, like, right now, for example, like in Dark Souls 1 era of gaming, and even Dark Souls 3 era, nobody was as good as, like, Gino Machino is at Elden Ring. Like, there was nobody that had, like, that level of skill at that point in time in the space, right? Nobody was that good. And it's the same thing with WoW. Like, if you look at the world first kills of Wrath of the Lich King and, like, Cataclysm, not a single player in that raid, I bet, could probably still be, with their skill level at that time, in a current world first raid right now. Because the skill gap has increased so much. And you see this with everything. You see this with sports, with other types of records. You see it with, like, the Olympics, which is kind of a sport, but it's the same type of thing. People keep breaking these records, and you're also seeing it with games. So, but it doesn't really matter, right, whenever you think about it, because, you know, it doesn't matter how much faster the fastest person in the world can run a mile. It's still incredibly impressive if, like, an average person can run a mile in, like, 8 minutes. That's very good for, like, an average person. And that's not going to change, you know, like in 100 years or something like that, unless we have like some kind of like weird genetic thing. You see what I'm saying? Because like people are staying the same. Boxing, yeah, boxing's the same way. And so I think Wukong and like a lot of these games, like I think Elden Ring was designed like this, right? I'm trying to think of like different ways I could explain it. But overall,
I beat every Dark Souls.
You cannot continue designing for a player base that keeps getting better, because that player base keeps getting smaller. Like, you're not going to have a lot of people that have the level of skill that you need to do, like, a no-hit run in Elden Ring, or, you know, like a Sekiro, you know, be able to beat, like, Ishin without using a heal or something like that, right? And so, yeah, you do not want to make games, like, super hard, because the good players will find ways to make them hard. And also, even in the really, really hard games, you know, the quote hard games, the best players in the world play them with extra handicaps or with extra modifiers for difficulty. So even games like Sekiro, etc., they're still playing it with like the Yasumatsu sugar, which like reduces your total health, etc. Still, that's going to happen. So you do not design the game to be hard. Design it to be fun, satisfying, fulfilling, and to make the player feel good about accomplishing goals. And in some cases, that means making hard bosses.
You guys think it was worth it?
But that should not be the goal.
Let me know.
The goal should be able to create satisfying gameplay, and if harder bosses are the method in which you do that, then that's okay. Long tangent, but that's the way I feel about it.
This is on the hard difficulty?
You add another difficulty to the game, like a very hard mode, or maybe they'll tune up hard mode. They're definitely looking for feedback for this, so if they ever release a demo for this, I don't know if they will, but they certainly could.
I'll play it.
You know, make sure you provide your feedback on that. But one more thing I'll say about the difficulty of it is, I don't mind the difficulty as it is right now. I felt amazing playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing to watch, and it was so much
fun.
fun.
I think another way that you can make the game, there it is, bro. He even knows. Fun is more important than difficulty, exactly. Because, like, another way to add this in is having New Game Plus. Like, Wukong does this really well. Where, like, I want to play through the New Game Plus of Wukong because there's so many different abilities and things that I haven't been able to level up yet. And I want to think to myself, like, what would it be like if I had my transformations fully maxed out? What would that look like? And I would want to try it out, you know? And, like, so you have, like, a New Game Plus that makes the game harder, maybe adds in more enemies. You know, like, Dark Souls 2, really, I think is, like, the best version of, like, a New Game Plus.
And fun to me is more important than difficulty. I would much rather have fun time with a game than be challenged by a game. So if they don't improve the difficulty, that's not going to be the end of the world for me. But I definitely, as it stands now, I think it's a little bit on the easy side. However, it wasn't all completely easy, and one of the bosses that I fought actually had an instant kill mechanic. When you started the fight, you ran in, he does this animation where he like throws this thing up in the air, it's like a bell, I think, and then it comes down on your head. Well, if it lands on your head, you die instantly, which is just kind of awesome, in my opinion. And there's ways you...
It's definitely, Alright. Okay. Yeah, as I said, there's no shot this guy is not them saying we love playing Blasphemous 2. I mean, am I crazy? The more I see the combat, like, this is just... It's like 1 for 1. It goes hard, yeah.
You can either dodge it and attack, or you can hide behind a pillar so that he can't hit you with it. And they definitely showcase different ways to avoid that attack, but I speculate that a lot of other bosses
for one shot? It's not a one-shot.
One-shot mechanics that
I know what you're thinking of, it's not.
That's the end of that fight for you. So this game may be a bit harder moving forward when you're fighting harder bosses that might have those mechanics. And in terms of level design, although you won't see a ton of gameplay footage of me exploring in this game because there just wasn't a lot to the demo, something that I found really interesting was like one of the first areas I explored, I actually ran in to fight a few guys in this area. And I didn't realize that there were archers up on the sides that were just plugging away at me while I was fighting, and it made it very difficult, and I ended up dying. Well, the second time around when I came through, I snuck up on one archer before
execute?
do anything.
Yeah, you can.
Assassinated him, and then took my bow out and shot the guy across the way in the face, and he died. So then I jumped down and fought the guys because there were no archers plugging at me. So in that sense, it reminded me a lot of Sekiro, where like you can use stealth to your advantage on the gameplay to thin out enemies before engaging enemies, and I expect that to be a huge part of like the parts where you're not doing boss fights.
I think that's also a really good thing. That's like what I was saying before about how like a game can make itself easier by allowing a player to take certain different approaches, and I think this is a great example of that, where it's like, yeah, obviously it makes the game easier if you go and you kill the archers ahead of time, but like the player earns that accomplishment by making the game easier by being clever and having good gameplay.
Thing that you can't really see in the demo is that there is going to be loot while you explore. They specifically mentioned that they removed it for the demo. There isn't going to be a ton of equipment and gear for your character to get. They mentioned that the game leans more towards an action game, so there's going to be less on the side of that, but there will be different weapon types to acquire, and I imagine there will probably be more than one weapon of each type. I don't know what all the names of the weapon classes are. You can see kind of an Adachi-looking weapon in my gameplay, dual blades, etc. But there are going to be more than that, obviously, in a full version of the game. And you generally have 2 weapons equipped, and what I really love about combat in Phantom Blade Zero is that you're actually rewarded when you swap weapons mid-combat. Not only does it look flashy, but I think it also replenishes some stamina, or at least prevents some stamina from deteriorating for you for a little bit of time, which allows you to continue your onslaught. So you're kind of like encouraged to swap weapons mid-combat, and managing your stamina is a big part of playing Phantom Blade Zero, because a lot of times if you're deflecting or blocking or attacking, you're running out of stamina, and if you run out, then you can't do anything else, and obviously you're going to have to back away. You can't just keep attacking. So I really love that they've kind of not only mechanically tied that in, but from a flashy standpoint, it looks really good. And Phantom Blade Zero by no means...
I feel like New World tried to do that, and it just wasn't good. But yeah, it should have been good.
Is the first game to incorporate this. However, I feel like it's done in a really well way here, and I feel like as a player who doesn't normally weapon swap in like Neo or something like that, because I find that it's too challenging for me, and the reward is often not worth the risk. In this case, I almost feel like it's always worth it, and I was trying to weapon swap as often as I could, and that felt amazing.
That's good.
So that kind of wraps up my impressions for Phantom Blade Zero. This is by far the best game I've played at Gamescom 2024. There's another game that I played that I really want to talk to you guys about that I can't yet, that is still under a lot of NDAs. It is not a similar type of game to this at all, but I look forward to talking to you about that. But this game, like, look how beautiful it looks. The graphics are good. It's smooth. It runs on Unreal 5, and it is so smooth. There is no frame drops or anything. This is playing on the PlayStation.
I guess he must be running with an AMD.
5. This is all PlayStation 5 footage. This is not PC.
No, I guess it's PS5. It's different. Yeah, never mind.
5. I hope that means that the final version of this game won't have any performance issues. I know that is a big issue in the industry this day and age, and even Black Myth had some performance issues.
The truth is, like, some performance issues are understandable. It's okay. It just depends on PS5 uses AMD. Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
This is a game that's going to be at Tokyo Game Show in a little over a month, and we will play it again there. Hopefully the demo is a bit different, so I can showcase some different gameplay from the game. But this is one I'm absolutely going to be keeping an eye on. If you are a PlayStation or PC player and you like action type games with like, really heavily combat focused, you should definitely keep an eye on this game.
So far.
Yeah, this game looks really good.
Blade Zero, was this one that you had on your radar from a while ago? Is it just getting on your radar? What do you hope to see in this game? What concerns do you have? What are you excited for? Let me know all those things in the comments below.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, that was actually a good video. That was a really good video. I agree with pretty much everything he said. I'll link it to you guys. Yeah, he's right. He was right about pretty much all of that. There's the video right there. Give him a sub. Yeah, did it say no armor changes? I don't know. I feel like having armor and customization is a good thing.
I like customization, armor, all that.